So recently, I made it my mission to cycle the full length of a canal. So continue watching this video to see if I can complete this mission. Right, so the canal we are going to cycle the length of is the Coventry Canal. It starts in a place called Fradley Junction, okay, which is here, okay. So this is where it starts. So this here is the Trent and Mersey Canal, which we have done lots of bike rides on before, but this one here coming out at a perpendicular angle is the Coventry Canal, okay. And this canal is very long. We're following it now to Huddersfield. So normally when we do bike rides as a family, because I live in Lichfield here, this is the nearest place to get on the canal from Lichfield at Huddersfield. But it would be pointless getting on there and going south to Coventry if we want to actually do the whole length of the canal. So what we're going to do is we're going to cycle on the road to Fradley Junction and then cycle back down to Huddersfield. So the first bit will be going up and then back down, but then when we're at Huddersfield we will follow the canal through Whittington, you'll follow it through Hopwas, and this here is Tamworth, okay. Now normally when we cycle on this canal as a family for exercise, we normally get as far as here if we're going in the southbound direction, because it's just too far otherwise. But we made it our mission to cycle the whole length, so it kind of does a U shape here and goes back up through Tamworth. So it kind of leaves Tamworth to go through this place called Fazy, which is just south of Tamworth, but then it goes back through Tamworth. It goes through a place called Polesworth next, I believe, here. We're following this one. That's the River Anchor. We're not following that one. We're following this one here. And then it goes through Atherstone. Now, Atherstone and the next place that I will show you, Nuneaton, these are places on the train route from Lichfield to London. So even though I haven't actually, visited these places, I've been on the train through them a lot of times. And then it goes through a place called Bedworth, and I believe we're nearly at Coventry now. See, all of this is probably like the outskirts of Coventry because it's a fairly big place. And then this here is the centre of Coventry, and then we get down to here. So the whole canal is 38 miles, as you can see here. So if you include the bit for us to get from Lichfield to Fradley, that will probably add on an extra 2. So I'd say it's 40 miles. Now, when we cycled from Amsterdam to Gouda, I did do a video on that, so I'll link it below. That was 50 miles in a day, and it took us, I think, 8.5 hours, I said in the video. So that was 10 miles longer. So I predict this will take us about 6 to 7 hours, okay? But you've got to bear in mind that when we did the Amsterdam to Gouda, we were mostly on roads. Now this is a canal, so it's a bit more bumpy. So maybe it might be getting up to the 8-hour mark, but I'd like to do it in no more than 7. I think I'd feel happy if it was less than 7. So it's going to be a very big day, and I hope that we can do it without, having to give up because we get too many punches, or because it's too difficult, or it's too hot. There's a lot of things that could, prevent us from doing it all, but fingers crossed we can do it. Wait, why are we going here? So we predicted that the weather would be good, as it's been boiling hot this week, and when the weather's good, it's absolutely vital that you put sunscreen on, especially if you're going to be out all day like us. Okay, so this junction here, as you can see it is a junction, is Fradley Junction, and this is the start location. I'm glad for this signpost because it means we will actually go on the right canal in the right direction. Now, about 5 minutes in, we saw these swans hatching, and I thought this trip would be all about swans again, but luckily, they didn't bother us at all, and we didn't really see that many for the whole trip.
Silence calls to me from the treetops of this world. A balance, feeling free. I'm a part of this place above. And I know it cannot last, but at last I can finally breathe. And I know it cannot last, but at last I can finally see.
So the first section of the canal, just leaving Fradley Junction, there wasn't really a clear path, and for some of it you were just cycling along grass, and it was also very bumpy. So this boatyard coming up is Street Hay Wharf, and this brought back memories when we hired a boat called Daisy for a day, and we went up to Tamworth and back on the canal one summer holiday.
I'm feeling like love tonight. There's no stopping what I feel inside. Throw your cares away. 'Cause baby, I can't.
Then we arrived in Whittington, which is just a small village to the east of Lichfield, and as you can see, we're probably about a fifth of the way through when we entered Whittington. Now, I know lots of people from Whittington because there's no secondary school there, so a lot of the people from there go to my secondary school, and we cycle through Whittington quite a lot because ever since lockdown we've been doing a lot of family bike rides, and a lot of them start and end in Whittington. It's like the gateway to the east, because wherever you go east of Lichfield, you're most likely going to pass through Whittington, and there were lots of these houses that are gardens leading onto the canal, and I was just thinking how nice it would be to sit in the sun by the canal in weather like this. So when going on long bike rides, especially in the sun, it's vital you keep hydrated, so here's me drinking some water, and also it's vital you have enough energy, so make sure you stock up on sugar before bike rides. So as the path widened, I practiced riding my bike with no hands, and due to all the unicycling I've been doing, this was relatively easy. We then came up to what I'd like to call a bike stopping gate. We had to lift our bike up, and this was easy as my bike's a hybrid, but more leaning towards the mountain bike direction, so it was quite heavy, and then we had to navigate it round this fence. And it's probably just to stop motorbikes, but it's still a pain. Our next place we went through was Faisley, and that's pretty much Tamworth, and there were these nice houses right by the canal, and this is Faisley Junction. So if you turn right, you'd be going on the Birmingham and Faisley Canal, and that ends up in Birmingham.
Floating away with you in the backseat of my car. We're timeless, sailing through, but tonight, no, we can't go far. And I know it cannot.
So So this here is an aqueduct because the canal is going on a bridge over a river which is down the bridge to our left. So after a quick coffee stop at this extremely luxurious co-op car garage, we were in Atherstone. Now, I didn't know a lot about Atherstone, but what I did know was that it was past halfway on the route. So that meant that we were in the second half, we were on the home run, and in Atherstone I felt the canal went uphill a lot, and you wouldn't think that cycling along a canal it would be uphill, but as you can see on the film, each time we cycled up, it was to a lock, but we never cycled down to a lock. And also, this is rare footage of me cycling. That is me in front. I made my dad wear the GoPro for this little bit, just so you could actually see me cycling. We then cycled through Nuneaton, which was the biggest town we went through before Coventry, and I didn't know a lot about Nuneaton, so I googled some facts. So Nuneaton is famous for its associations with the author George Eliot. I haven't heard of him because I don't read books, but if you do, you might have heard of him. And he lived in Nuneaton for much of his early life, and also Nuneaton has a population of 86,552, making it the largest place in Warwickshire. So we just cycled round this corner and there were lots of people in the middle of the path. Thank you. We then cycled up this very steep hill. So you saw the GoPro angle rise. That's because I was standing up on my pedals, and it was really hard cycling over the top because of all the bumps. You can see the bumps on the GoPro, and then going down, you couldn't just bomb it down because of the bumps again. You'd literally get airborne if you just went down really fast. So it was actually quite dangerous because you had to go down at a reasonable pace. We then sat on this bench for about 15 to 20 minutes with a view of these houses and the unopened pub in the background. So then we arrived in Coventry, and as I'd seen on the map, there were lots of suburbs in Coventry, so it was probably like 45 minutes cycling from the edge of Coventry to where the canal actually ends in the centre. So when I saw this bridge, I knew we were relatively close to the end, because when I googled Coventry Canal, this was one of the first things that came up. And also the buildings were starting to get slightly taller, meaning we were obviously nearer the centre of Coventry. And I was glad it had almost finished, because I was getting pretty fed up of seeing water to the right by this point. And this was finally the end. We were in the centre of Coventry and we had done it. The whole thing took 6 hours, and it was actually quite a good moment finishing, because luckily my mum, who was picking us up, she literally drove down the hill to pick us up, because we said we'd be there at 2:30, and she got there exactly at 2:30 and we got there exactly at 2:30. So look, this is proof at the end of the canal. You can see the canal does not go any further. Luckily we don't have to cycle back, because my mum has come to pick us up, which is very good of her. Okay, so this is the tracker of the route we did. As you can see, if you were to cycle to Lichfield to Coventry, we didn't go a very direct way, because as you can see, when we went through Tamworth, we kind of wriggled a bit and did that U-shape I talked about, and also we had to go up to Fradley to actually get on the canal. But overall it was still a good bike ride. As you can see, we did 44.89 miles, and the canal was 38 according to Wikipedia. And that might be inaccurate, but I think that that is accurate actually, because we did take a slight detour in Atherstone to get coffee, and also there was a bit at the start leading up to Fradley Junction. I said that was 2 miles, but I might have underestimated it. If you look at the elevation gain, you'll see we gained 267 feet. So that means that the canal must have been going uphill at some point. And we did notice that, and that does make sense even though we were going along a canal. The time is 4 hours 42, and we set off at about 8:25, and we finished at 2:30. So we were out for about 6 hours and 5. So that's just moving time. So that means we had stopped for about 1 hour 18 at 5, 1 hour 23 minutes, which seems about right, because we did have lunch, we did have the coffee, we did sit on a bench for a bit, we did stop for sweet breaks and stuff. So all those statistics seem very accurate to me, and overall it was a good bike ride, and I would definitely recommend doing it if you live in this area, because it was quite fun. There were bumpy bits, but you get that with every canal. So that's the end of the video. I hope you have enjoyed. I will leave more links to other videos in the description below, so make sure you go and check them out.